Welcome back to Maniacal Music Musings. I'm your host, Jeremy, as always, but tonight you can call me the beast of both worlds. Metal shit. I have a story to tell of wolf and man. Wherever I may roam, there is the struggle within with the god that failed. Fuck him. He is a spirit crusher. It is sad, but true. And it has me bent out of shape. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, no, fuck that. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. My co host, though, or as I call him, my friend of misery, he is a scavenger of human sorrow who believes to forgive is to suffer. He rides a vulture of fire with acid bleeding eyes, and he is just pure evil. The devilium in his soul will make you bite the pain and hear the voice of the crying soul. He is the unforgiven, and we bear witness. So enter Sandman, Mr. Chancy motherfucking Grife.
Hi.
Two in a row, Chancy. Two in a row.
What do you mean? I mean, two in a row, yes, but I mean, we got to start keeping a tab on the overall. The over
We do.
under on
We do.
this, the over under on this is pretty good. We should start taking bets like Vegas.
Well, future endeavors, Chancy. Future endeavors. But, ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud for both of us tonight to be joined by an amazing guest once again. This time, we are joined by Donald Dunn, host of Two Drunk Dudes in a Gunroom podcast and CEO of Heroes Voices Media Foundation. How's it going tonight? Is Don okay, or do you prefer Donald?
Either one's fine. I'm good with either. I've been
All
called
right.
a lot worse.
Yeah. I mean, me too. Me too. So how we do? How we doing tonight, Don?
Man, I'm doing amazing. I got one more day before I go on vacation, so life's good.
Well, lucky you. Lucky you. I don't get no. I get one damn day off.
Man.
So yeah, it's not fun, but we are glad to have you here. And before we get into talking about the music, I'm kind of curious as to what it is the Heroes Voices Media Foundation actually does, because I didn't really have time to look into it tonight.
That's fine. So basically, what we do is we help veterans that are using media as therapy. So for me, my example is my podcast. When I started that in season one, I got about 3/4 of the way through it before I realized that it was my own form of therapy. I was starting to talk about things that I never talked about, even with my family. And so what we do is we take veterans that are using this and we help them so they can keep doing it. A lot of people that start podcasting, as well as I do, they get frustrated and they quit. And
Yep.
that's fine if that's all. If it was just your dream to be a podcaster and you gave up, but if it was actually your only form of therapy because everything else you tried wasn't working, then we've got a problem. And so our goal is to help them continue to podcast or write music or write books, whatever they're doing until they can find a program that works for them. And if they want to pursue it as a career, we help them with that too. So we have we have 3 projects. We have our podcasting project and we have our radio station. And then we just launched our program for authors and bloggers and magazine article writers.
That's awesome. I mean, anything to support
Yeah.
veterans, I'm always down for it. I'm glad we get to get more people to hear about it so that maybe they can help in some way.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. We are always looking for DJs for the radio station. We have 3 stations, a rock station, a country station, and a mix station. And all of the artists on there are either veterans themselves or dependents of a veteran.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's one hell of a project, and I would rather listen to that than some of the than most of the radio stations out there nowadays. So,
Yep.
Right.
It's called Gunroom Radio. You can go to gunroomradio.com or you can download the Two Drunk Dudes in a Gunroom app, and it's all free. Just you don't even have to sign in. Just download and hit play.
Nice.
I mean, hell, I've been driving my mom's car for the last couple of days, and every time I turn on the car before I get my phone connected, it's just this Christian station. I'm like, God, shoot me now. I can't stand that shit because it's oh my God, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. But well, see, folks, when we bring a guest with a good cause. That's just that makes the night even better. And we get to talk about 3 amazing albums. Okay, 3. I'll say 3. I'll say 3. But Don, why don't you tell us, because we always let the guests go first on this show, what album did you want to bring, and why did you want to bring this one?
So I brought Metallica's Black Album, and I think the biggest reason why I tracked to this is I can remember where I was the first time I heard Inner Sandman, and
Mhm.
that's what turned me on to Metallica. I was in Korea; it was my first duty station in the army, and I remember drinking in the barracks, and somebody played that song, and I was hooked from there.
Well, that's a simple reason, but it's a damn good reason. And I mean, well, Chancy, I'll let you give your review first,
Okay.
because I mean, I already know it's Metallica. I already know what we're both going to say, basically. But you go ahead.
Okay. I do enjoy a good Metallica album, and for me personally, this one really straddled the fence, and there's a lot of reasons why. And normally, I usually go on tirades and tangents about of all manner of things, but in this circumstance, I would normally say like, oh, you can tell it's the first album that they didn't rip off Dave Mustaine from the stuff that he left behind when they kicked him out. But really, for me, the thing that gets me the most about the album is you can really tell, even though it's like literally the first recorded album with Newstead, the new bassist, that they were basically going to be hamstringing themselves. And there were some songs that had hints of a Metallica song to it. It just didn't feel like a Metallica album. And I think looking back, a lot of it, for me, a lot of it does have to do with the fact that there's that. Not only is there like a complete change in tempo, it's like somebody hit the parking brake and turned left, but like the bass, or like the bass, like almost like in some cases it's almost non-existent. And then to find out the way they treated Jason Newsted is also another thing. It's like, wow, okay, the guy never even had a chance even going in. And I mean, there's also songs that I greatly enjoy on that album. Like I have a very love-hate relationship with the album itself. I of course was naturally able to get a top 5, and they were 5 that I truly enjoyed. I obviously left the more popular ones off of the list because they're obvious. Like, Sabatru's a great song. Wherever I May Roam's, that one really felt a lot like a Metallica song, so to speak. But yeah, for me, I mean, it was definitely like from that point forward, they just kind of fell off until they got a hold of Rob Trujillo. And then it's like then they came back hard, and it's been good stuff ever since too. But I mean, I'm not going to say I hated it, and I'm also not going to say I loved it. It's a Metallica album. I greatly enjoy the band. I respect the musicians and the art, but it's just this one always kind of made me sad. It almost made me feel like I felt bad for Jason Newsted more so than anything else.
Yeah, all right. Well, you shot me in the foot for letting you go first, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, like,
well, here's the great thing about that,
okay.
though. Here's the great thing about that, though, because we're gonna take that smiley face and bring it back up to the other side where it's high again. Because just like Don, I can remember where I was the first time I heard Enter Sandman, and literally, I mean, different scenarios, freaking completely. But I was a 11th grader in back in 2004, and I was getting a ride home from yearbook after school with this senior who I started hanging out with because he was cool, and we're riding home in his truck, and he freaking just takes a CD out halfway home, puts it in, and I had no idea what CD it was. I was just getting into metal. I wasn't even really fully into metal yet. and I just hear dun 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 dun. And I'm like, what is this? And then as it gets heavier and heavier, and I'm just like, I need to hear this whole. I'm like, can I borrow this for a night so I can burn it, please? And he's like, yeah, of course. Take it home, burn the CD. The whole bus ride the next week to and from school was just me playing this in my Walkman like constantly. Like it became my album for easily a couple weeks until I found the next metal album I wanted to devour. This is the album that introduced me to Metallica. This is the album that made me love metal, basically, even more than I already did. It made me fall in love with metal because there is literally only one or two songs on this album I will skip over if they come up with my random Spotify list. But most of the songs on this album, I will be sitting there singing. I will be sitting there singing along with, and if I'm not sitting there singing along with them, then I am just headbanging to the max. It's an amazing album. It's an amazing band. It's one of my favorite albums ever. I freaking love. I love Metallica. I mean, to some degree, I don't love all their albums as much as I love this album, but the Black Album is definitely an amazing album.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazingly good time. Oh, I'm getting some company here. It looks like easy, big girl, easy. Damn that tail. But I mean, it's just Metallica is incredible. And it's funny because before we went on air, when you said Death Magnetic, I'm like, no, we're not talking about Death Magnetic because that's my second favorite Metallica album. But Black Album is definitely always taken first place, and I freaking love Metallica. I love Black Album. It's just an incredible album overall. And top five was so freaking easy for this. So freaking easy. It was hard. It was hard for me not to put every song on the album on my list. So well done, sir. And yes, you did give me between this and Twisted Sister to pick from to begin with. And I told you I can't pick because I love Dee Snider. I love Twisted Sister as well. So I
remember that as a kid, man. I love that. You know, and growing up, I was an AC/DC guy. I love Motley Crue. And when I joined the military and I got introduced to this type of music, man, and I ain't left since.
Well, I mean, I mean, Metallica is one of those bands that I feel like military guys are just drawn to because it's just that pure adrenaline energy, that pure being in a shitty situation, but it's something you can enjoy, like feeling. That's Metallica is one of those bands. I mean, you're not gonna put on no damn 3 Days Grace over there and like be crying yourself to sleep. Like no, you're gonna be rocking out to Metallica and get ready to go. But but all right, well, what were your top 5 songs? Hey, pretty girl.
So for me, my top we'll go from 5 down to 1.
Yep.
So my 5th song is Sad But True. That would be number 5. Number 4 is Fuel. Number 3 is The Struggle Within. Number 2, nope, I take that back. Number 3 is Nothing Else Matters. Then 1, then Enter Sandman.
Ooh, I mean, I don't blame you for that at all. For number 1 being that, I tried not to do that purposely because I could have, but I mean, it's close. But Chancy, what were your top 5? Come down to here after your glorious review. What your top 5 are?
For me, number 5 was the guy. Well, actually, before I start, I should say Fuel definitely felt like a Metallica song for sure, and 1 is in and of it like that's a whole separate. It's just separate, like top. It's a whole other tier, separate from the rest of everything else. For me, number 5 was The God That Failed. Number 4 was My Friend in Misery. Number 3 was Of Wolf and Man. Number 2 was The Struggle Within. And number 1 was Through the Never.
Ooh, your number 1 actually wasn't even on my list. But that's interesting because I do have 4 honorable mentions for this CD because how the fuck could I not? It's the Black Album. Like Well, my first one I'll mention is "Sad but True" because I mean it's sad but true is an amazing freaking song. I've every one of these songs. I've worked out to these songs. I have cried after relationships to these songs. Like these songs can go through a spectrum of emotions for me. Number 8 was "My Friend of Misery" because freaking just the bass in that song alone is amazing, and the riffs, the lead riffs too are just incredible. Number 7 is "Nothing Else Matters" because I mean, who hasn't felt that way about shit in their life? And that song just hits it home. I mean, we've all screamed "Nothing Else Matters" along with that song into a mirror at some point. Number 6 is "The Struggle Within," just because it's an awesome song. Top 5 though, this is where it got hard. I kept rearranging these. I listened to this CD probably 10 times in the last week because I can, because it's a quick listen to get through, and it's just an amazing CD regardless. Number 5 is "The Unforgiven" because I love every verse, every sequel to that song they've done. I love that song. And I mean, that song is about military, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I always thought it was military or about like maybe firemen. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's what I got out of it always. I will say I do love the third version the best out of all the Unforgiven songs. It's on Death Magnetic. I do love the third one the best. I think they kind of brought it home with that one. But number 4 is "The God That Failed," because this city came in my life right when I was questioning my religious upbringing, and I was at the time agnostic. An atheist. I mean, I'm now agnostic, but I was an atheist back then because I just hated the idea of religion. So "The God That Failed" like just stood out to me and stuck with me for a long time. "Enter Sandman" I threw at number 3 because it was going to be up there in the top 3. It was going to, but I put it at number 3 because it's actually funny because the head of our yearbook was a homosexual man, and being stupid high schoolers like we were, and being very inconsiderate of other people, we used to actually change the middle of the chorus to the guy's name was his last name was Carliner, and it was "Grip your pillow tight, close your eyes, because Carliner's coming in your bed tonight." And like it was stupid thing high schoolers do. I mean, the last time I saw him 10 years ago, I gave him a big hug because he was an awesome man altogether. And he taught me about a lot about life. But it's just something. It was a stupid thing high schoolers do, and it still makes me laugh to this day though, because it's
Yeah.
just. I mean,
I think we've all
nope.
been there, man.
Yeah, back when we were less accepting kids. But number 2 is "Wherever I May Roam" because the chorus of that song, along with the riff in it, "Nomad vagabond, call me what you will." Like I fucking love that shit. Like when you're working out to that shit gets you so hyped up.
Yeah.
And of course, being a paranormal podcaster, my number 1 could be nothing else than the song about the legend of werewolf/dogmen themselves. Number 1 is "A Wolf and Man," because that song always held a special place in my heart. The wolves howling in the background and everything. Oh, it's just I love that song. I love "A Wolf and Man." It's primal. It makes you feel like the animal we're supposed to be. Like it unleashes that side of men, and I don't know. I loved it. Great album choice, man. I cannot get over that enough. I forgot how much I love this album. It's probably been a good decade and a half since I listened to it all the way through. So, and they are now all on my Spotify like list, which I'm surprised they weren't already, but they now all are, and I will be hearing these over and over again. Thank God. So, you awoke a part of me that has been awoken in God 20 years about. So, shit, well done. But Chancy, that means it's time to move on to the CD that you brought technically for a second time, but first time we actually get to talk about it.
So I chose the final album. Well, we shouldn't say the final album. It was the last album that they put out while Chuck Schudlinger, the guy that started the band, lead guitar player, lead singer, was still alive. The name of the band is Death. A lot of people, call them like the godfathers of death metal, among a couple other other bands that escape me right now because I'm trying to think of how, just this is it. The name of the album is "The Sound of Perseverance." Some people have referred to it as a swan song, if you will, and I mean through the progression of the band's stuff. It's like every album always came with new band members because of like sound changes that Chuck was making, and it all kind of comes together. It's really depressing in a way because like this album, it's so good. And then he like shortly found out like after that he had a brain tumor and died in 2001. Like it was just like he was like right at the brass ring and then just couldn't grab it. Like he was right there just at the brink of success. Because the music, I mean, if you go back and listen to all of it, like even to the way that he structures songs, he doesn't follow the, you know, verse, chorus, bridge, you know, outro, intro. Like it has like, you know, intro, section, chorus, possibly bridge, solo, section, and the sections are repeated, but the words are different. And the fact that I mean, he had other people play, he had other guitar players playing with him and stuff, but the fact that the guy was doing the stuff that he was doing and pumping out those vocals with that, like anytime I ever hear a person tell me, oh, I don't like metal because I can't ever understand what they're saying, I immediately play a death song because you can almost make out basically 90% of what Chuck's saying at any given time. And just the combination of the guitars, they're one of the first bands that like popularized the D standard tuning where everything's a whole, I believe it's a whole step down, and it revolutionized, it made its own genre of music. It it galvanized a whole bunch of guys, just, and gals, I suppose. I keep forgetting about I Wrestled a Bear Once. They also wouldn't be around if it wasn't for these guys. But yeah, you know, rant over.
Well, Don, since it's your first time listening to Death, as you told us earlier, what did you think of Death?
I'm gonna have to be honest, man. I didn't like it as
Oh.
much as the other album.
Please do.
The other one that we're gonna talk about tonight. There was a few songs on here I did like. The first song that's on the album, "Scavenger of a Human Sorrow," I didn't really care for that one. But "Story to Tell," I did like. And I did like "Voice of the Soul" and "Painkiller." Those were the three that I found that I really did like. But the other ones, man, they're definitely different than what I'm used to. I think it's like what you said. It's the way he does his music. It doesn't follow, I guess, what I'm accustomed to.
Conventional patterns.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned "Scavenger of Human Sorrow." That song is actually about the record label.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was having a hard time he was going through some rough stuff and like having a tough time with like lineup changes and stuff like that, and they were just harassing him because, you know, like, oh, you owe us an album, da, 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 da. So basically they were hovering over him at the worst parts of his life, kind of stuff. It's just scavengers of human sorrow.
Well,
and
maybe I do like it more than I said, because I can completely agree with that statement. And
then like, yeah, the labels stuck for the most part. But like "Behold the Flesh" is and "The Power It Holds," that's like basically like a song about passion and addiction, and like just, but it's all, like I said, I could definitely see why it wouldn't be for some people, especially because sometimes it's really hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
You're listening to you're listening to the crazy shit that he's doing on the guitar, and then you're hearing what the guy has to say. Like some of that stuff is just, it's poetry. Like the beginning to I believe it's "Behold the Flesh." It's, you know, it comes from a place in the depths. Like it's just, you know, it's just so, it's just, yeah, you're right. It's unconventional. And
You are right about one thing though. The way he sings, yeah, if you can't understand him, then you just don't speak English because everything is very clear. It's not like some of the other metal that I've listened to where White Zombie. I love White Zombie, but I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes it's a little hard to understand what they're saying, but I love
yeah,
the drummer. I love the guitars. I love the music. Supercharger Heaven was an amazing song, but
yeah,
I do agree with that statement. I kind of wish some of these other people, because he can sing, and
yep,
when you can understand the words, you can really tell whether he can sing or if he's hiding behind the music.
yeah.
And
That's
and
valid.
he can definitely sing.
Like, and it's funny because there's always these stories, because you got the stereotypical look for a metal person.
Hmm.
There's always these stories that he'd come out to concert wearing like a kitten t-shirt and like flip-flops and shorts, and then he'd be like, he'd be talking in between the like on one of the live albums or live DVDs they have. He introduced Scavenger of Human Sorrow, and he's like, our next song is called Scavenger of Human Sorrow, and it doesn't sound anything like whatever comes out of his voice when he busts into it. And you're like, is he got somebody over there just like naming off the songs that they're gonna play, or is that no? That's actually him. Like, wow, dude, the voice doesn't match. Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely has a different voice when he's singing. That's for sure. I've never heard him talk, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
definitely
it's not what you would expect.
it's definitely not what you'd expect for sure. Like there's I might I mean I probably could have picked other albums and you might have had different feelings about it, uh like the very first one I believe is called Scream Bloody Gore, and it's like the first, it's like one of the, it's the, like, the first death metal album, not
And
the
see,
first death metal album, but that's like Faith Healer is probably it's one of their better albums where it's talking about evangelists and stuff, and
I
it's
think
all
that's another
interesting, it's all
thing.
crazy.
I think that's another thing that messed me up. When you look at the label, the cover art, the name of the band, the name of the album, I was expecting like scream metal, where you couldn't understand anything. And then when he started
Yeah,
singing, you're like, whoa, that's not what I was expecting. The
Uh,
name gives you a different impression, I think.
well, I
right.
mean, names can be deceiving when it comes to bands. I mean,
This one was. I was shocked.
I mean, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example because I have a shitload of examples. But take Insane Clown Posse. Let's go with my main example. You hear that name, and what do you think it's gonna be? It's not what you think it's gonna be. I mean, you
Yeah.
hear Insane Clown Posse, you almost think it's gonna be like a heavy ass metal band, and it's the opposite. It's a
Yep.
hardcore rap group. I mean, I wouldn't think Insane Clown Posse would be a rap group if I didn't know who they were. Like, I would think they're just a heavy metal band, which would be interesting actually. But as far as death goes, Chancy, funny enough, I mean, I might need to get my fucking hearing checked. I don't know because I couldn't understand everything he was saying. Parts of it, yes, I definitely could understand parts of it, but I had to turn on lyrics on some parts because I'm like, I can't hear what he's saying. Like, and I had it up pretty damn loud. Like, I mean, like I said, I might need my hearing checked. I had issues with my hearing my whole life, so I might need to get it checked again and maybe get a hearing aid going on. But because I mean, I can hear decently, but some bands that usually you can understand the lyrics from, I always can't. So I don't know. Maybe it's my hearing, but I mean, don't get me wrong. The instrumental in this band is freaking on point in every step.
Yeah.
But funny enough, the first time you brought this band on, and that we never got to do that episode, but the first time I listened to this band, I liked them better than I did the second and third time I listened to them. So I can't explain that. I can't explain that one damn bit. But I mean, I enjoy it. But maybe it's because I heard it before that I wasn't as amazed as I was the first time. So I don't know. I mean, it's still a good band. I mean, you have brought way worse on the show. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. So I mean, I would definitely be down to hear other albums they've done. Maybe it's just this one I don't like. I don't know. I'd have to hear the rest. But
I would even go as far as to recommend like looking up if you can get good audio quality for like live shows, because he's one of those rare breeds that sounds just like he's recorded. Like it's I mean, like it's fairly on point as far as that goes. Like there's like, it's funny though, Don, you were saying that one of the songs you liked is Judas Priest cover.
Yep.
I was like, he was like, oh, I like this song. It's like, man, you picked a Judas Priest cover, man. Come on, you didn't like this song. You just like Judas Priest.
No, I mean, I like this song too, but I think the majority of the ones I liked were more powerful instrumental. You know,
Yeah,
the guitars was really going, and I think I kind of agree that I think I like the band more than I did him.
I mean, just from a look on his face, he looks like kind of a dude I wouldn't really want to hang around with. But but I don't know. But
it's so strange because of the fact of him like having so many people that he moved around for sound changes and stuff, that it's like he always put the band over everything, and then that's funny. You're like, I like the band more than I like him, but so did he.
Yeah. Maybe
Chancy,
that's why it showed too.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah.
But Chancy, what were your top 5 songs? So I'm kind of like dying to hear if I'm on the radar with everybody else on these top 5 for this one.
So for me, number 5, I didn't put many. Like I really didn't put any honorable mentions on it. Not because there weren't any. I just I wanted to keep it top 5 since I got top 5s for every other album. I just wanted to keep it fair because there was a lot of albums on this, or a lot of tracks on this album. But number 5 was to forgive is to suffer. Number 4 is Painkiller, because I have to say, as far as covers go, that's pretty tops. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Rob Halford would approve. And number 3 is Spirit Crusher, just because of the just a lot of the meaning behind the song. Number 2 is Flesh and the Power It Holds, also for the meaning behind the song. Just so much to it. And I actually have a tie for number 1, and it's Scavenger of Human Sorrow, as well as Voice of the Soul.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was getting attacked by mastiffs at that point. But oh, you kissing each other, so cute. But so I know you told. So did you only have the top 3 there, Don, or did you like 5 of them actually?
No, that was about it, man.
Well, Chancy, don't feel bad because I do have
All right.
paw in the back. Ow! But I do have an honorable mention. Get out of my back. Freaky dogs. And my honorable mention, of course, is "Bite the Pain," because that to me sounded like a classic heavy metal song. It really did. But number 5 for me was the opening track, "Scavenger of Human Sorrow," because I like it, but nowhere near as much as the other 4 in this list. Number 4 is "Voice of the Soul," though, because that one kind of spoke to me. And I wish I kept my top 5 plus whatever else from the first time I heard this album just to compare, but I deleted it because I never thought we would do that episode. So, and I don't write them all down in a notebook like you where I can go reference them. It's all a messenger, so I got to delete it. Otherwise, it's going to be buried in 5,000 messages. But number 3 was Spirit Crusher, because the top 3, all these songs are incredible. The instruments are incredible on them. The lead guitar is incredible on them. And the drums in this band, oh my God. Like, I want to see the drummer live. I really do. But Spirit Crusher was number 3. Number 2 was To Forgive is to Suffer, because I just love the idea of that song. And number 1, just like Don, I love Story to Tell. Story to Tell is an amazing song, and it does feel like there's a story behind it. So I mean, Death I could take, and it's funny to say that, but I could take Death, and I'll listen to him again. I'll definitely listen to other albums if you bring them on, but
Oh,
it's
I'm
just not
definitely
something.
bringing more of them on.
It's not something I would go out and search for my own though. That's just the main thing. I mean, maybe if I'm sitting there one day and I can't think of anything else to listen to, then maybe. But I think I have about 20 Gwar albums to go through before I go through any Death albums. So, am I
We'll
wrong?
see. Whichever ones I bring first, though.
Well, we'll see. I'm talking about like if I'm just bored one day and I want to listen to music I never heard before, and I put on something of my own. I
Oh,
mean,
I suppose, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'd go through like 20 Gwar albums before I would go through that. But
Pretty
Gwar speaks
close.
to me more. Gwar speaks to me more. So, but well, I think it's time, Chancy. It's that special time of the night. And that means it's time for my album. And see, once again, this has been happening a lot lately. We got challenged with an amazing album by the guest, and it's like the fourth time in a month that this has happened. And I'm just like, God damn it, because what the hell am I gonna bring to go against Metallica's Black Album? Like, it's literally an impossible task almost. And I'm thinking there, I mean, Don mentioned a band earlier actually that I almost brought, and I can't think of what it is at this point. But there was a couple more popular brand. I almost like it was like Iron Maiden again.
Yeah.
I'm like I couldn't think of who to bring. I really couldn't. I'm like, do I bring another Metallica album? No, I don't want to do that. And I'm just like, all right, you know what? There's this. I brought Lordy on the show a bunch of times, but back in after COVID killed the tour of that Lordy was supposed to do for their album Collection, which Collection was the album Lordy did that basically is them going through different music genres throughout history and like making their own versions of the songs. So COVID killed that tour they're supposed to do. It was going to be their first like worldwide tour, which they ended up doing last year. But they decided to make this collection of albums, 7 albums actually, 7 full studio albums they decided to release in a box set basically, with one releasing like every 2 months. That's what they did instead of touring. They recorded this many albums because their lead guitar, Amen, was actually leaving the band after this. So they decided, since he's leaving, that we're going to go through and we're going to make this box set of all these. Each album's going to be from a different era in time. And the album I brought, which this box set is called Lordiversity, Lordy and Diversity together. And the album I bought is set in 1991 and is inspired by Anthrax, Metallica, and Pantera. So I was like, all right, it's time to bring the first part of Lordiversity that I could bring for this one. I already have another guest in mind for one of the other ones that we got to bring back on eventually. But I'm like, since you want to bring Metallica, I'm gonna bring an album that's honoring Metallica and of course Pantera and Anthrax and all the other great bands of the early '90s in this genre. So I'll bring Abracadaver because I've been listening to this album not fully, but random tracks here and there for a couple years now, and I love this album. It's an amazing album, and it shows that Lordy it can do these albums show that they can do any genre of music and make it sound good, not just like their own thing, because they are very similar to Gwar. They are that kind of band. But I mean, this one I just freaking love because it sounds like the early '90s metal I grew up loving, and it's perfect, I thought, for this matchup. Which I already know Don likes it better than your CD. So, Don, what did you think of Lordy?
So this is an album that this is a band I'm going to explore. I actually really like this album. I'll save the number one song for last, but I'd like to talk about that one for a minute.
Well, save your top 5 till we get to those. But
okay.
But I mean, so overall, you love the album apparently.
Yeah, I did.
I was gonna say, Jeremy, you better mark this one down. I think this is the first time that, like, in the history of ever, that the guest resoundingly liked your album and simultaneously disliked my album.
It's not the first time. May
I
I
don't
remind
know.
you? May I remind you of our good friend Phoenix with an F, who fell in love with Nightwish and didn't like your album, whatever it was that week. So I mean,
Breaking out
yeah,
the notepad.
yeah, because he wants to see what album I'm talking about now. But I mean, yeah, when I brought Nightwish Imaginarium, Chancy, that was the episode. But because Phoenix fell in love with that Nightwish album, and he did not like yours, which I don't even know what yours was that week. He brought that female singer. I can't think of her name, but
Who?
Phoenix.
I
He
did?
brought that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Oh, yeah, Phoenix did.
I was like, what?
No, you brought female singers before. You brought a Tracy Chapman album for God's sakes, but
Mhm.
and so I mean, no disrespect to the female race here, but well, while you're looking that up, Chancy, what did you think of this particular Lordi album? Because I know you've heard Lordi before in many ways, but
I I mean, honestly, it wasn't bad. I like the guitars. I like the instruments. It kind of actually reminded a lot of what you said about Seven Dust, about how you liked, the instruments were solid and the voice just kind of lacked a little bit. Kind of the same, but like I still enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable experience. Like I honestly, I didn't dislike the album. So like,
hey,
there's a win there. There's a win there.
so I mean, but they stack up to the other Lordi original albums that weren't supposed to be set in a Pacific time era.
Um, I'm not sure on that one, really. Honestly, I can't say yes or no to that one. I would say I'd have to say it's pretty just on par. Because I mean, it essentially it reminded me of a Lordi album, but I know it's not because it was the two put together. But still, I mean, it was just kind of like I felt the vibe that was there, but it was just set to metal, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't like I said, I don't listen to this album all the way through, but to me, this one just sounds different from every other Lordi album. Like all of them doing this set. I mean, Lordi normally sounds like themselves. Like I mean, maybe as a huge fan of them, I can say that more than other people can. But to me,
I
Lordi
actually,
sounds like
I actually just passed one of the episodes where you brought Lordy to Beast or Not to Beast.
oh yeah, well that album, you and Shanna didn't like that album because of the subject matter. But
It's still funny though
oh,
because
actually, no,
like
no, not that. That's not that one. That's not that one.
you're just talking about Lordy, and I was just like, oh hey look, a Lordy album.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love Abracadaver. It's an amazing album, and of course, I had to have four. Actually, I'm sorry, five honorable mentions for this one. And the first honorable mention I had was Devilium, because it's just to me it was the song that stuck out the least out of the ones I liked, but I still love it. And I love the way he says Devilium. Like I love the way he says that. Like it sounds like a magic spell for God's sake. But for number 9, I pulled the Chancy, and I chose SCG -2 Horicone, the intro track, which for those who don't know, SCG stands for Sporadic Circle Gathering, which is what they do on every CD. There's always a Sporadic Circle Gathering track of some kind. Number 8 was Raging at Tomorrow, because that song is just pure metal at its finest. Number seven is I'm Sorry, I'm Not Sorry, because I say that all the time, people. Like, it's just like one of those dickhead things to say to people. And it's a great song. Like, I'm Sorry, I'm Not Sorry is an amazing song. And number 6 was Bent Out of Shape, because I mean, to me, these just remind me of classic 90s metal songs, really. You could put any lyrics in them and it would still sound good. Number 5 was Acid Bleeding Eyes, because that, to me, is just, I love that. The imagery in that song is just like, ooh. Number 4 was the title track, Abracadaver, because that's the song I've heard the most on this, and I fucking love that song. Because Lordy has a lot of songs about dead bodies and whatnot. As I watch my female dog hump my male dog. What the hell? I don't know what Munchie. You can't do that.
I found it. It was Bush. It's not even like it's not even like it's some obscure like rando fucking. You're literally talking about you brought your album this week. You're like, oh, it's from 1991 and it's inspired by these 1991 artists. Oh, you mean like fucking Bush?
No,
Oh,
see,
they're because they're a 90s artist. But
no.
it's not. Oh, but wait, it's not the same.
They didn't mention Bush because Bush sucks, you dick. They didn't mention Bush because Bush sucks.
Dude, I'm flipping, and I'm looking, and I'm like, which piece of shit obscure band did I fucking pick today? And it's like, fucking Bush? Fucking Bush?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, well,
Shit. Shit.
You know my feelings on Bush, dude. You know my feelings on Bush.
I mean,
but
you were saying, go on, continue with your top 100.
Top 10, thank you. This
I love the fact that Don he's just dying. He's just like, oh shit.
I mean, this isn't the band I brought the last show we did where I had like a top 15 or 16.
For real though.
But number 4 was Abracadaver because that's the song I heard the most out of this album. It plays a lot in my freaking Spotify like list, and I just love the way they say Abracadaver, and like the guitar in that freaking track is so on point. The top. Okay, 3 and 2 were kind of new to me, and this one, number 1's been my favorite. I've never sung that. This album I love forever, but number 3 was Beast of Both Worlds because it's just pure metal. I mean, I'm picturing Stranger Things. I'm picturing like all this metal Dungeons and Dragons type shit for that one. And same with number 2, Vulture of Fire was the guitar in that one was off the hook. Like I am kind of disappointed that Amen left the band because I loved his guitar work throughout the whole 20 years they've been doing this work, 30 years even. So, and then
just on this album, it was solid.
Oh, he can do guitar and anything amazing. But and then number 1 for me, the best song of this album to me has always been Evil, because it's just pure heavy metal greatness, and just the way that Mr. Lordy screams Evil. Like I fucking love that shit. Like that's metal to me. That's metal. That kind of voice, like it's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, better than my voice, obviously, but I mean, Evil is an amazing freaking track, and Lordy continues to amaze me every fucking time they do a CD. They always do. Wait till we bring Aaron back on. And I bring on the one I want to bring on for him, Chancy.
All right, fair enough.
But what were your top 5 for Lordy Dunn? I'm kind of curious.
So number 5 was Bent Out of Shape.
Nice.
Number 4 was Raging at Tomorrow.
No.
Number 3 was Abracadaver.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
And then number 2 is Acid Bleeding Eyes.
Ooh, nice.
And then number 1 I listened to this song 3 times. Evil.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
We have so many on that list that are matched up between the 3 of us, like for real.
The riffs at the beginning of that song at the intro was amazing. I loved it.
I mean, when Lordy sets off to do something, they set off and do it right. That's the way I've always felt. I mean, Lordy, they've amazed me since I first found them in FYE back in the day, literally by their album cover. Their album cover, is how I found them. And then I just looked it up, and it was just started listening to it on the freaking sample track thing, and it was just like, oh my god, this band's amazing. I never listened to Gore at that point, but I found Lordy, and that's all I needed. I kind of wish I found Gore that same day, but it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, when I heard Evil, I thought of Metallica. I mean, that sounded like a Metallica song. So
yeah.
I mean, They set out to do something and they did it. So very well done. But Chancy, what were your top 5 guitar?
Well, I'm gonna admit right now, my 5 would have been my number 1, except it's not. Number 5 for me is Evil. It was so fucking solid, dude. Such a solid fucking song.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me was Been Out of Shape. Number 3 was Abracadaver. Number 2 was I'm Sorry, I'm Not Sorry. And number 1 was SCG2 and Beastwood.
Oh, I knew you were gonna do that. I knew you were gonna do that. I mean, I can't blame you. The freaking intro and outro in this are well done on all these Lordiversity songs. I love their intros and outros. I mean, it's not as good as the first CD I brought on for you, Apocalypse, where they do the whole aliens about to destroy
Yeah.
Earth shit, but that's classic war shit. But
Right.
hey, big boy.
Now, I will have to admit, so looking down and going through some of their other albums, I don't know who does their cover art, but they are amazing. Like every Alvin cover is just awesome.
Good question, actually. Who does Lordy's cover art? Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Lordy does it. Oh,
It's amazing.
yep. Okay, the artwork was designed by Mr. Lordy, and he's been the director of the band's vision since the early '90s. So yeah, it's Mr. Lordy. It's the lead singer.
Wow.
Because it's he actually did a movie too back in the late 2000s. He did a movie like a Finnish horror movie, and
Right on.
I believe it's actually on at least one of the brackets I have my paranormal show coming up in the future at some point. So that and Cradle of Filth movie they did, but I mean, yeah, I mean Lordi is they're phenomenal. I mean they're one of the top selling bands in Finland, which is saying something because Nightwish is right there with them. So I want to see that. I want to see the two of them go together. I really do. Symphonic metal Nightwish with heavy ass metal Lordy would be one hell of a combination. Like I think it would be amazingly beautiful. But if they did it right, But well, I'm happy you like Lordy, Don. I really am because some people I brought it on for, they're like, "What is this?" I mean, but then again, even Michael Colby liked it. So I mean, if Michael Colby likes it, that's setting the fucking bar because he's hard to impress, right, Chancy?
I mean, honestly, not really. You just gotta not bring that bullshit Cottonmouth King nonsense to the party, and I think it'd be all right. I don't know. I'm just guessing though.
I mean, dude, you sure heard me and him going back and forth in the scripted podcast the other day about Princess Diary or Princess Bride.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
It was funny, but well, folks, we want to thank Don for coming on because it's been incredible. And we talked about 3 rockin' fucking albums here. So, well, okay, two rockin' fucking albums and then death. But
And an honorable mention.
Honorable mention. I like that. Yeah, honorable mention. Chancey is like, shame on you, shame on your family, shame on your cow.
Nope. Y'all are entitled to your incorrect ass opinion, and that's just what it is. If y'all don't want to get behind some trendsetters, that's cool, y'all. I mean, hey, they blazed a whole ass trail that got wider and wider every year. Now there's a whole litter of these bands running around, and like Don was saying earlier, man, like there's even death metal bands now where you gotta basically get like a lyrics book or read the lyrics to figure out what the fuck they're saying.
Yep.
Well, Don, before we head off, why don't you tell them about your podcast and then tell them where they can find your podcast and you and your organization.
Okay. So, Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. It came from originally with me and my old first sergeant. We started this in regards just to highlight veterans. There's a bunch of people out there that do PTSD and that type of stuff. We kind of wanted to focus more on the success side of it. People that are doing good. So we started out by bringing our own soldiers that we had while we were on the show. And my buddy owned a gun room. We both like to drink, and he owned a little gun business. So I would help him build guns and do some hydro dipping, and we pretty much lived at the range shooting. So when I suggested, why don't we start a podcast? He said, well, what are we going to call it? And I said, how about two drunk dudes in a gun room? And so episode 1 was literally filmed in his gun room. There's reloaders and shotguns. I think we're banned on TikTok for life. But it was always for the same reason too, for having the shotgun above the door, but whatever. But
Right.
the show is basically about just anybody I find interesting. So I have guests that came on, and I went through a trend where I was coming across veteran musicians that were trying to make a living doing it. And anybody that follows music knows that that's a very tough industry to do, especially when you serve 15, 20 years in the military and you're now 45 trying to start a music career. So the show turned into a radio station. I still do my podcast, but we have a radio station called Gunroom Radio. We have Simplify Country, Ranger, Rockwave, and our Vet Mix. They're all veterans. They're all known, meaning they haven't made it big time in the industry yet. I don't play any of the George Straits and Elvis Presley, and even though they served. And then we also have all of this is wrapped up in our nonprofit called Heroes Voice Media Foundation, and three projects is a podcasting project, a book writing, publishing project, and then our radio station. Here in about 2 weeks, we will have a TV channel that is coming out on Roku. If you liked MTV, I am bringing back what's called MMTV, Military Music Television. So I'm taking all the veterans that have made music that's on our radio station that have made music videos, and the channel will be just an endless stream of music videos. And then we're also going to have a podcasting side of that as well. So it'll be free. All of our stuff is free. There's some stuff you can subscribe to if you want to get rid of the ads or something like that. But other than that, it's free. You don't have to give up any email addresses or any personal information. You just download the app and hit play. We'll never know who you are. It's not about
That's cool.
It's not about the money. It's about getting these guys known and
Right.
getting their name out there. So one day, maybe somebody asks you if they know of any bands that are playing at the VFW, and you can represent a name, and maybe they'll get a gig out of it and get to pay rent one more month. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
We've had some pretty good luck so far. We've had several artists that got found through our radio station and was invited to Zach Brown's Heroes Week, where he takes veterans and they go over music writing and industry type stuff. They were found by a unit or by an organization called Operation Encore. They reached out to me. I put them in contact with the artist, and they were invited down there. So they got to meet a lot more veterans. Those are lifelines. When you meet another veteran that's gone through the same stuff, or maybe knows of a program that you don't know of, those are lifelong lines. You can reach out on Facebook, phone, whatever. I'm having a bad day, and have somebody to talk to that can understand. So that's where we came in. We just network. We're just helping veterans meet veterans. And the big goal, the big goal is one day, and we're in talks with some people now, but we want to create what's called the VMAs. We want the Veteran Music Awards. And I want all these artists that served, that have made it in the industry, I want them to be the hosts of it. And bring in 10 bands, let them play on TV, get some red carpet, some paparazzi going, pop some champagne. Maybe they'll never be the next Garth Brooks or Metallica, but they will be for that day. And it'll be a good experience for them. It'll show them what they're working for and why they're grinding and what they can get to. So, we can do it and make a set cause, so that the money raised maybe goes to homeless veterans or something like that, and not make it about making people rich and advertisements, but about raising money and awareness.
Right.
So you can find me on Spotify, Facebook. If you look under Facebook, I donated my page to the Military United podcast streams. My show is listed as one of those podcasts that stream under that service. That's part of our nonprofit. And I just created another page called Donald Dunn. if you want just my podcast stuff.
Right
We're
on.
on Spotify. We're on Apple. I mean, anywhere there's a podcast, YouTube, everywhere. And then here in a few weeks, we'll be on Roku.
Well, that's
That's
what's
awesome,
up, man.
man.
That's awesome. We applaud you. We applaud you, and everybody, please go check out this great radio station. Please check out his podcast. Support these people. They need support, and they definitely deserve it. They've served our country, and they deserve to be recognized for that and everything else they're doing. You know, if it helps them, that's just even better. So fuck yeah, I'm 100% behind that.
You know, we got several of these artists that are they're Purple Heart recipients. You know, Scotty Hastings was blown up with an IED, got a Purple Heart. Shot 10 times in Afghanistan, got a Purple Heart. You know, so these songs that they're writing are about stories that they've lived. You know, these are truly from the heart. So if you want something that you can resonate, you'll find it on the station.
Well, there you go. So, Chancy, where can they find you besides the void?
Well, the most uneventful scavenger hunt is resumed and shall continue again. I'm still waiting for my submission for the random album, but this is my real name on Facebook. If you can find me, then you get to suggest an album and I have to bring it on. On Instagram and TikTok, it's the Red Eye Roundtable. On X, it's Red Eye Table. And, here on the Untamed, Uncensored, and Unapologetic Network, or U3, whatever, collective thingy-majigger, whatever we are here. I don't know if I even got that one right.
Half right. You half
it. Yeah. And then, of course, Maniacal Music Musings. Blind Knowledge Network. I'm getting them.
A for effort. A for effort. But yes, folks, besides those places Chances already mentioned, you can find us on XXBaby in the Gram as that Juggalo Bastard. And you can find us on TikTok as that Juggalo Bastard Podcast. And you can find us on YouTube as Maniacal Music Musings. Or, of course, streaming live, as Chancy said, on Blind Knowledge Network. Because all knowledge was blind until I had to listen to death and then went blind again. So, sorry, but not sorry. And we will be back next Tuesday with another great guest and albums that I have no idea what they are yet. So, be surprised. Guys, if the listeners noticed, I stopped. If the watchers noticed, I stopped putting the albums in the description of the upcoming podcast, so people kind of have to listen to find out. Add to the suspense. But until then, we want to thank Don for coming on, and please go check out everything he does. The links will be in the description, of course, for the podcast. And your musers will see you next week. Have a good week, and remember, metal out and listen to metal all day. Peace.